Hi, Eva. This is Ellen. I'm really happy to see that you have started the course and that we've got our first essays from you as part of the course. Let's take a look at what you did here. This is about schools and whether they should be more entertaining. So let's see what you wrote. Many parents doubt the function of schools because they find their children do not fit in the monotonous learning environment. In other words, the students are bored with learning at traditional schools. Yet, some parents agree that their children go to school to learn exam skills in order to enter the university and get a job. So, school is not necessary to be enjoyable. Okay. But there are a couple of things that your introduction is supposed to do. The first thing it's supposed to do, it's supposed to introduce a topic more or less by rephrasing what is in the prompt. Okay. So you have to take that language and really just kind of spin it around. But essentially, from your introduction, we should be able to understand the question that you have been asked. Okay. I wasn't able to do that. You did so much changing around that I actually felt it didn't reflect appropriately what the question in the task actually is. So you definitely have to be careful with that, okay? So here you're talking about monotonous learning environment, and then you say they're bored with schools. So there's nothing about entertainment. There's nothing about this idea of, this enjoyable, fun learning environment. There's nothing about that. It's focused on the parents and it's focused on the children. But there was nothing about entertainment. There was just, monotonous learning. And then you say that parents agree, and then you say school is not necessary to be enjoyable. I think you mean that it is not necessary for school to be enjoyable. So are we to understand that this is your position, or are you simply continuing with what the position of the parents is? Because in this essay, you absolutely have to give us your opinion. And the best place to do that is in the introduction. It says right here, which do you agree with? So it's very important that you are very clear about what your position is. You really need to do that from the introduction. So for me, this introduction needs work, both in rephrasing the topic, being a little more close to what is actually written, and also in terms of your position needs to be clearer. So let's keep going. First of all, children without the apostrophe, without the S, need entertainment and they learn through play. There is not a clear boundary between play and learning because children's brains function in this way. For example, all preschools in Australia adopt play-based learning, so children learn by doing and exploring in games and intriguing activities. Ample educational research without the of shows that those children without the apostrophe S, learning motivation, those children's, okay, I got it. Those children's learning motivation rose tremendously. No, you've got some problems here. Look at this. Ample educational research shows that children's learning motivation rose more than that of students sitting in a classroom practicing reading and writing. Simply put, enjoyable learning is absolutely effective. Okay, let's keep going. Secondly, children and teenagers need to learn to be flexible and creative because they have to face many down-to-earth problems in this fast-paced and constantly changing era. However, not despite, some parents some parents are concerned that their children are not coping with stresses from exam pressure or the real life hardships after graduation when schools are too entertaining, that they do not reflect the reality. Education do not have to be traditional boring, including memorizing and drilling. All right, I don't know what happened with your grammar here, but there were mistakes throughout the sentence. So you should have broken it up into smaller pieces. So, however, some parents are concerned that their children are not coping with stresses from exam pressure or the real life hardships after graduation. I know what you're trying to say, but it's just way too much information here. Let's see. How about this? However, when schools are too entertaining, no, not too that. When schools are so entertaining that they do not reflect the reality, parents are concerned that their children are not coping with the stresses from exam pressure or real life hardships. Okay, full stop. Education does not have to be traditional and boring, including memorizing and drilling. All right, that sentence doesn't belong. In short, schools should educate students to solve problems in fun ways. Okay. So here I think the organization of this paragraph was not as strong as the previous one. Let me see something. School is not necessarily to be enjoyable. All right. So now I'm pretty confused because both of these paragraphs are actually supporting having entertainment in school, right? So when children are really little, it's absolutely necessary. But even as they get older, it helps now because they should learn how to solve problems in fun ways. That's what I understand here. But now there's absolutely no kind of connection between your introduction and your body paragraphs. So you have to absolutely work on that. Your introduction should essentially give us a very clear blueprint for how your body paragraphs are going to progress. Okay. But this had some general problems. I thought there were a couple of sentences that didn't belong. There were problems with grammar. So it needs a little work here. Okay. All right. So, in conclusion, for the sake of students' developmental needs and supporting them to be adaptable to the real world, it is desperate for schools to be entertaining regardless of the toughness of examinations and work in the future. I don't like it as desperate. It is necessary would have made sense, but not desperate. All right. So there's some good elements in this essay, but there are a number of areas that I think need some work. So I'd like to go on to the next essay about the enjoyable activity with a child. This is also to what extent you agree. Let's see. Recently, many parents have been sending their children to play groups and extracurricular classes to learn useful skills. Meanwhile, some parents prefer tutorial classes since they consider play a waste of time. No, they consider play is waste. No, since they consider play a waste of time. That's how you want this, because the skills acquired from after school activities are not transferable to academic context. All right, same thing here. This is you it's as if you're answering a totally different question. Okay? This is about what is important for children's skill building and creativity. Reading, or can they get these skills through fun activities? So here you're talking about play groups, you're talking about classes, um, school activities. So this is not what this essay's question is asking you. Try to be a little more faithful to the question, okay? All right. Personally, I firmly believe that doing interesting learning activities with children is far better than sitting them down to read and write. There are two reasons children will acquire a variety of skills in fun activities, not only reading. The second reason is that play gives more space for children to be flexible and creative than reading. Okay, well, yes, I like this, but as a paragraph, this is really rather awkward because it's not a body paragraph because it's not structured like a body paragraph. It almost feels like it's part of your introduction. Um, but if it were your introduction, then it should have been attached to the previous paragraph and then really didn't want to include these two. Okay? So what it would have made more sense for me is for you to get rid of these two sentences, take this sentence, and then just kind of stick it over here. Okay? All right, let's keep going. First of all, children's learning occurs in a natural context. They need a relaxing and enjoyable environment for them to explore. Then all skills can be developed through play. For instance, Department of Early Childhood Education Australia encourages parents and educators to design and implement creative art activities such as dramatic play and games for young children to interact with adults and their peers. These activities have been no, these activities have proven that children's creativity, physical skills, social skills, language and communication skills improve in a short period of time. In short, play is the most effective way to enhance children's multiple skills at one time. Okay, fine. Secondly, young children can execute more imagine. You don't really execute imagination. That sounds a little strange. Young children can maybe tap into or harness, I'm not sure, more imagination, creativity, and play because they can use different ways to play with the resources and interact with different people. However, reading is simply holding a book to read by themselves. Although there are a lot of interactive books or online reading materials for children, they are still one way. Therefore, fun activities are definitely more beneficial for children's development than reading. Okay. In conclusion, play is far more effective than reading to enhance children's skills and creativity than reading, since it allows children to have autonomy to choose what to do and how to play, as well as how to interact with people that brings lifelong impacts to their development. Okay, that's good. So I liked a lot of this. I already told you what I thought was problematic. It was primarily the first two paragraphs. What I want to see you do is I want to see you reverse the order of your body paragraphs. What do I mean? I mean, this should have been your first body paragraph. This should have been your second because this is your concession paragraph. This is what you're essentially telling us you don't really agree with. Okay. So that's the weaker paragraph of the two, where you say, ladies and gentlemen, I don't agree with this. This is why. And then you tell us what you do agree with, and it makes it just sound so much stronger and more convincing. So it's a better way of organizing your answer, and then it's linked better to your conclusion. Okay. So a good first set. There are some things that I want you to work on, as I've already said, but I'm excited to see what you're going to send us next. So go ahead, correct these essays, return them back to us, and don't forget about your error correction list. And of course, write us a new set of essays. So I'll be looking forward to it and lots of luck to you.